What's up, guys? Charlie here with Pryor Media with another WordPress video for you, and today we are finally getting to Revolution Slider 5.0. I know, I promised you guys like 3 weeks ago. I have had just, I don't like it when people start their YouTube videos by just telling everyone, oh, I haven't made a video for so long and all that mumbo jumbo. So I'm just gonna go ahead and leave all the details of why I haven't been able to make this video. It's been driving me nuts for the last 3 weeks. I'm going to leave all that in the description, and if you're interested in that stuff, you can just go ahead and read that there. But one of the reasons why, I will say, is because I just finished my first ever full-length feature film, and it's finally done, and so I was scrambling to finish it the whole time. So if you're interested in learning more about that by any means, lessonindiplomacy.com, and it'll tell you all about it. Anyway, let's get started. We're going to look at Revolution Slider 5.0, and this is going to be sort of a video that doesn't really give you a comprehensive tutorial over the whole plugin. I can't do that in one video, but I do want to introduce you to some of the transitionary type stuff. So if you're used to working with the previous version, this video should make you more comfortable working with the current version. Okay? So in the last video, I left off by explaining that we had expanded demos in X now, and there's actually a new one, Education. If you're interested in seeing that, you can go ahead and check that out. But the one I installed on my testing environment was Agency, and Agency looks like this. But when I imported it, if you remember correctly, when I imported it, I got this, which is pretty close, except no slider. Now, I've tested this numerous times since making that video, and the sliders almost always do import. There are certain situations where they don't, and I think it has something to do with hosting and maybe some permissions type stuff, but for the most part, they do import. But since it didn't import for me, it does give me the opportunity to show you guys, how to make that slider and how to do it from scratch. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to do it from scratch. So this is what the slider looks like. If I go ahead and refresh this page, you'll see that it comes in. There's some animation elements there, and we're going to create that whole thing. I'm not going to worry about typography, but I am going to try and get it close in terms of size and timing and all that stuff. Okay? So let's get started. I'm just going to make my windows a little bit different here, and we're going to get going into Revolution Slider. So this is the previous version of Revolution Slider on the right, and the new version of Revolution Slider on the left. And you can see there are clearly some differences, but for the most part, all the differences are cosmetic. Most of the functionality and features that are packed in that are new here are pretty obvious. And in terms of transitioning you from a previous version to the new version and how to work it, I'm not really so much going to go over new features as much. I'm just going to try and focus on the features that you are familiar with already and sort of show you how to better utilize them in the new version. So this is what the interface did look like, and this is what it looks like now. Pretty self-explanatory. We're going to create a new slider. So if I'm going to click the plus sign there, and we're going to get a window now that looks a little bit like this. This is what the previous new slider or edit slider screen looks like on the right. And you had titles and aliases, you had different types, and you had this little layer example, so to speak. And then you had a bunch of options on the right. And all these options are all still right here. There's just less of them on the right so much, and more of them to sort of visually represent your slider over here. You still get things like general settings and all this stuff. And each and every one of these little tabs now, instead of having all the options in that tab like this does, you now have tabs within these tabs, or I guess tabs within the accordions, so to speak. So you can go through different settings and get previews of them, which previews haven't really been working for me. I don't know why. Maybe it's Safari. Anyway, so for this slider, we're going to choose a default slider. We're going to name it, let's say, Agency. Now let's do Agency Demo Slider. We're going to have the alias be Agency, and we're going to choose just a standard slider. If you wanted to do a different type of slider, like a carousel, for example, maybe a photographer, and you want to utilize some of these presets, that's awesome. Go for it. Each one of these slider types comes with some presets that you can choose, but for me, I'm just going to choose a regular old standard slider for this particular example. Come down to slide layout. You'll notice that the slider's background, if I come back to the tab where this is, you'll notice that the slider's background is already there, and that's because this is the background of a section in Cornerstone. And this is the X WordPress theme, of course. So if you are interested in the X WordPress theme, annotation in the top left corner, that's always there. You can click it and check out the theme for yourself. That's the theme I'm going to be using this as an example for this demo. But you can see that this is a background of a section. So even though the slider is not there, there's still a background image. And so that tells me that I'm going to have a transparent slide. That also tells me that it doesn't really matter if it's auto responsive or full width. It's going to basically be the same in terms of what it looks like for my visitors. So I'm going to go ahead and choose full width. And you can see if I just make this a little bit wider so it goes full screen, there we go. You can see that we have 4 different representations of the slider. And this is your chance to configure the slider how it looks on different devices, whether it's desktop, laptops, tablets, or phones. So for the layer grid size, I definitely don't think it's this tall. I think this is not quite that tall. So I'm going to go to height here. I'm going to change this to, let's say 550. Okay, and you can see that this updates and it shows me how big that is now. Pretty good. Now we have laptop, which is trying to be full screen right now. I definitely don't want that, so let's do this, and we're going to do 500 here. Okay, cool. Then we have the tablets. Tablets have a width or a height of 960 by default. Definitely don't want that. So let's do like a 450 there. Yeah, okay. And then we have the mobile phones. I'm going to do a little bit different there too. I'm just going to make it like maybe 650. Just a little bit different, but I want to show you that you can individually control the size of these slides, and as we get into making the slider, I'll show you that. So let's go ahead and save the settings of the slider. That's really all I'm going to do here. I'm going to go ahead and save the settings. And when I save it, it brings me back to this window, and I can go ahead and edit the slide by just clicking it. And this brings me into the slide edit screen. Now the old slide edit screen looked a little bit like this on the right. And it had some options that you could sort of select from here, some drop-down menus that weren't exactly very obvious in terms of whether they were actually drop-down menus or not. And then you had your interface, which sort of lapped everything all together. And then you had all these editing parameters down here. These editing parameters are gone. If I go over here, you'll see it's just a timeline at the bottom now. This timeline is still there, but it's all on the bottom now. And instead of having all these parameters here, you now have a tabbed interface at the top where you can sort of mix with it right here. So animations control, loops, visibility controls, different attributes, performance options, things like that are all there. So you can activate lazy loading, for example, if you wanted here. So let's go ahead and make the slide. I'm going to go ahead and look at this slide, and we see we have smart solutions for smarter business and 2 big headline lines. We've got this lorem ipsum text underneath. We've got a button, which this is an X button. It's not a button from Revolution Slider. I'm going to show you how to do both, but I'm not going to be able to get the X button in the video anyway. I'm not going to get this X button exact. With some tweaking, I can, but just because I just don't have the time to do it within this short, I'm trying to make this long video as short as possible, so that's kind of how we're going to have to play it. It won't be looking exactly like this. And then we have this image layer here, and these all have different animation properties, so we're going to be looking at that. First thing I'm going to do, though, is text. So let's add text. Text additions, rather than having to go to add layer and have something that's obvious as add layer, it's this little plus sign in the upper left-hand corner. It took me about 20 seconds to find this, and if you're smarter than me, you probably found it right away, but it took me a little bit of time. I'm going to go ahead and type, what's this then? Smart solutions for smarter business. Okay, smart solutions. And as you can see, the text is actually not what I'm typing. I mean, it is, but what it looks like, the style, is happening behind this. So you can see it's significantly larger than the text I'm reading here. So the area where I'm typing is different than the area that's actually being displayed for your visitors. You'll also see this is in 2 lines. And because this is HTML, hitting enter here doesn't change anything because it's not just a text box like you'd have in Word. This is HTML. It's going to ignore you hitting enter. So we need to use line breaks. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just, for illustrative purposes, it doesn't have to be on a separate line, but for illustrative purposes, I'm going to put it down there. And I'm just going to make BR like that. And that's a line break. Okay? So there is our layer. And it's black right now, and it's got a different typography. I'm not going to worry about fonts and typography. I'm just going to try to get it somewhat close, okay? Let's make this a little bit like that. Okay. So to make it a little bit close, I need to make it a little bit smaller. So let's come up here to these text editing tools. With the text layer selected, if I click it, with it selected, I have all these text editing tools up here. So I'm going to go ahead and just do like maybe 50 pixels. That's fine. And then for line height, I'm going to do, let's say, 48. Yeah, okay, that's good. I'm going to do a little bit less on the font weight. I'll leave it alone for now. Let's see what it looks like. And then we have dark. I'm going to make it white. Now, white text is kind of hard to see behind this transparent background. And so rather than having to wait till the end to change the colors, I want to kind of know what it looks like right now. I'm going to scroll up just a little bit, and in the main background area, I'm going to choose solid colored instead of transparent. And then I'm going to make this just a little bit darker. And now I can see all the elements that are going to be on the slide. Cool, pretty nifty little trick. And then when we're done with the slider, we'll just shift it back to transparent. Okay, so next we need a bit of lorem ipsum. So let's go ahead and add a new text layer. And I have some lorem ipsum saved in my clipboard. My nifty little ipsum program that I have for my Mac. Mac App Store, little ipsum. Gives you a quick and easy way to get a bunch of lorem ipsum in your clipboard. For people who do websites, that's pretty handy. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete some of this stuff. I don't need all of this. So I'm going to delete... that's a lot, actually. I probably copied too much. Let's go ahead and just leave it like that. Okay, and now I need to make a line break for this. So, that's probably too much still. Let's make it even shorter. Let's do that. And then we'll make a line break for that, same way as we did the other one. So we'll do it maybe like right there. I don't know. Never done this before. So looks like it's pretty close, actually. So we'll keep that. Okay, cool. Typography looks a little bit big, though. So let's make this a little bit smaller. We don't have to double click. We just have to click the layer. We get the text editing tools up here. Let's make this 18 pixels, and we'll do line height as 18 as well. Font weight is probably fine. Color is fine now. Okay, so let's do work on the buttons now. Two different ways we can do the buttons. There are buttons that come with Revolution Slider. So I can come here and go to button, and I get a preview of what they look like, and I'll just select, I don't know, this one here is fine, probably fine. I click that button, and it goes into my slider. I can move it down. Double click the button, and I can change the text. And there we go, we have a button. Pretty simple way to make a button. But if you want it to be consistent with X's buttons, you gotta have an X button. And the only way to get X button is to get the HTML for an X button. So we need to have an X button that already exists in the site, okay? And then we need to copy the HTML for that. So I'm gonna go ahead and right click this button, and I'm looking at the front end of the site, and I'm gonna go to Inspect Element. And when I do that, I get the HTML that's consistent for that page, that's making up this page, and I get this button, and that's what I'm looking for, okay? So I'm gonna copy them. I'm gonna right click this inside my little developer tool thing here. I'm gonna copy as HTML. Now I have this text copied as HTML, which is exactly what I needed. So now I can come over here, and with another HTML element, text HTML, and I don't know why it goes green. That's dumb. It's weird. It did that to me the last time I tried this too. It went green, and then it goes normal after that. It's really weird. Double click it, and I'm just gonna paste that HTML into this box. And there you go. We have View Case Studies. Now you'll notice that the View Case Studies button is just text, right? And it's also clickable. So if you click this, you're gonna navigate to that link. So be careful with that. It's probably easier to select the layer if you select it down in the timeline. You can see that you can actually select the layers by clicking that layer in the timeline down here too. So it might be easier to select that layer with this. But you'll notice that it just looks like text here. It's gonna look like this button. But while you're in the editing mode, this button looks like this. It doesn't look like a button, okay? Just FYI. All right, final step is this phone right here. So we're gonna get this phone. So let's go ahead and do image, insert, and we'll drag it over here. And that's probably it. So let's go ahead and save, and we'll check out what the slider looks like now. Okay, looks pretty close. We've got some errors here that we can kind of adjust, maybe some font weight stuff here, but for the most part, this is kind of looking okay. Text is a little high, phone is a little low, something like that. So we can adjust that stuff. Let's move this button down a little lower, and we'll move it over here just slightly too. And we'll do the same thing with this button, move it down, move the text down a little bit, move this text down a little bit, and I think we're probably pretty solid there. So now let's work on animations, okay? Save my slide, and let's refresh. And let's work on animations. So for animations, this text kind of slides in, but you'll notice it slides in two different layers, right? 1, 2. It's separate, it's not together. So we're going to need to separate this text into multiple layers in order to pull that off. I'm going to move this up just a little bit. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and click the layer. Then we're going to hit copy. That makes a copy of it. Then we're going to slide it down, and we're going to just adjust this. So I'm going to double click this, and we're going to have it just be Smarter Business. Okay, and then this one is going to be just Smart Solutions 4. Okay, slide this up here, and now we've got two layers, but they look pretty much the same as they did before. And now we can animate them independently. So we've got everything laid out for our framework here. Let's go ahead and do our animations. First step, we got to get this to slide in from the left, and both of these do it in a staggered way. So let's go to the animation tab, and we have these animation tools that are here. I'm going to select, let's do long from left. And we have some easing that we're going to have to fix because this eases in a little gentler than that does. Just a little bit. So let's have some easing fixes here. We'll go to power ease. Let's do 4 easy ease in and out. This does a slow in and out. And then we're going to adjust the speed of it. Instead of 300 milliseconds, let's do, I don't know, let's do 1200. Oh yeah, that's what we want right there. So do the same thing, but the out, we don't want it to leave. You notice how it's fading out. We don't want it to do that. So let's do no out animation. Then we want to do the same thing to this layer. Okay, so we're going to change this from this to long from left with no out. We're going to do power ease in out 4, and we're going to change this to 1200. And that's with that. Pretty good. Now let's do the same thing with the text. So the little text in the button, all it does is appear. And actually the button appears slightly before the text does, looks like. Yeah, I'm going to switch that and have the text appear slightly before the button. Just because I think that looks better. I don't know. It's my personal thing. Okay, so we'll do this. We'll fade in. We've got a power ease out 2. That's fine. We're going to change it to be just a little bit slower. So let's do like a 900. And we'll do the same thing for the button. And this button as well. Careful we don't click it. Don't want to click the link. And again, no fade outs on these layers. Don't want any outs. At least not for this slide. You might want some outs on your slide, but I don't want any outs on this slide. Same thing with this. Now, the phone actually comes up from the bottom and slides into place. So the phone, we want to do, instead of long from left, we want to do long from bottom. And I'm going to do no out animation again. Power ease out, in, out 4, and again, let's do 1200. And we got ourselves an animated phone. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and save the slide. Now let's take a look at what we got. Okay, looks not bad. Now notice it didn't stagger, and we're going to work on timing in just a second. But I just want to make sure everything is positioned properly, and it looks like it's pretty much positioned properly. We got a font weight problem here. This font is this text is too thick. So let's select the text. We're going to go back to style. And we're going to change weight to, let's say, 600. Same thing with this one, weight to 600. That'll probably look better. Let's refresh it. Oh yeah, that looks much closer. Okay, so now let's work on timing. We're going to look at this timeline down here at the bottom. And to get things timed appropriately, remember, as we select layers, it'll highlight them up here. So this new text layer that I made is actually in last. I'm going to hover my mouse over top these little arrows over here, and I'm just going to drag it up to where I want it. I would do this with my own slider. It doesn't really matter what order they're in, as long as they're sliding in the right order in the timeline. So for this, I'm going to leave this just where it is, but I'm going to move this one staggered slightly. So I'm just going to pick the beginning point. I'm going to move the beginning point in. Then I'm going to take this text here and this button, because I've got 2 buttons, and I'm going to move this in. So let's move it in like... Text is going to go first, about like that. And we'll make this, extend this to be about like 60. There we go. And then we're going to have the button fade in slightly after that. And this button fades in slightly after that as well. Then we have the image, which is going to come in last. So we'll just move the beginning point to last. All right, let's see how that goes. That's all she wrote pretty much. It's pretty easy. Hey, one thing I forgot to show you guys while I was recording this video, and I'm just sort of plopping this right in the middle of everything because it kind of fits there and I just completely overlooked it, was this whole area that I said I would look for, or said I would look at regarding these different image dimensions or these different slide dimensions. So I just wanted to plop this in the middle here and just sort of show you how that works. We're looking at my slider here, and this is kind of done yet. This is pretty much done. And I have in the top right corner here, this little screen display icon. If I hover over top of that, I get these 4 options, which you can imagine is the same 4 options as you selected before. And I can go to laptop, I can go to tablet, and also phone. And you'll notice how the transparent area that's darker, this is actually the surface area for that display. So for, let's say, laptop screens, I get this much. So if I want things to be arranged in a different way, this is what it looks like for desktops. If I want things arranged in a different way for laptops, I click laptop. And then while it's on laptop view, I just move my layers where I want them. So I'll just move these kind of up here like this. And I can go ahead and do a solid colored background again if I want to see kind of what I'm doing. Move this here like this, move this here like this, and move here like this. And then stick this slide right here like that, and I just sort of put it where I want it. And that's how it would look for laptops now. Do the same thing for tablet. And for this, I might want to make this text just a tad bit smaller. So I can kind of do this, move this here, and then just sort of make the font be like maybe 40 and 40. Same thing with this here, maybe 40 and 40. Move this text here, and maybe I want the line break of this text to be in a slightly different location, just so it doesn't overextend so much. So maybe I could just kind of move this bracket from here to maybe, I don't know, maybe here. Yeah, kind of still, yeah, you get it. And maybe I'll make it like a little bit smaller too, maybe like 16 point. Move the button a little bit, move this button just a little bit, and then maybe move this back to where it's just on the screen. And you'll notice, yeah, it is kind of overextended. This text is overextending. So instead, I think instead I'm gonna go ahead and I'll put the bracket on this side of the long word, and then we'll put another line break somewhere down here, like maybe, I don't know, here. I don't really know. Yeah, something like that. So now it's a little bit different from that for that device. And then I can do the same thing with mobile phones. So we've got that, and now the phone is here. So for this one, I might go like this, and maybe like this, maybe center things. So for this one here, I'll align this stuff to be in the center. And same thing with this, I'll just align it to the center of the window, The button can be below maybe. No, I think I want the button still probably pretty high. Kind of do one of these numbers, and then I just stick this down here like that. And I would probably only have one button usually, but that's kind of where that goes. And then I can make sure that this stuff is in the middle of the display too. And that's kind of what I would do for each device. And now as I expand, notice as I expand this stuff, it kind of goes back where I had it. The individual settings are saved for each of these different devices. So that's sort of how you would utilize different size displays. Okay, so I'm going to send you back to the recording that I already finished. Hope this wasn't really weird to have in the middle. All right, sorry. Let's go ahead and refresh this. Yeah, and there's some timing things we can work on. You know, maybe a little bit too slow here and there, but pretty much that's how that works. Move this in a little bit. Move that in like that. Save the slide and call it good. Yeah, it's pretty close. I think we're probably fine. I'm not going to worry about little minor things. But notice how the button doesn't quite look the same. The text is orange instead of white. That's what I was talking about. Some CSS tweakings can fix that. But that's how you sort of get consistent buttons to show up within Revolution Slider. It's a little bit difficult. I wish it was a little easier. And if ThemeCo is watching this video for any means, feel free to leave a comment down below and let me know how to do it. In fact, anyone, please feel free to leave a comment down below. I'm pretty good with responding to comments if I can answer them. I'm not gonna provide free support through YouTube. That's just not something I do. I don't have the time for that. But simple and easy things, I always read comments. I read every comment, but I don't necessarily respond to all of them. But I try to respond to most. Okay, so that's pretty much it. The last step is just to make that background transparent. So they're right there. transparent background, hit save, and we have ourselves a fairly close representation of that slider. So there you go. If you like this video, please like and share it with your friends. It really helps the channel out a lot. And again, if you're interested in getting the X WordPress theme here, you can click the annotation in the top left-hand corner. It comes with the latest version of Revolution Slider 5, as well as it comes with Cornerstone, which is a great, great page builder. Is it the best? I don't know. It's up to you. But I think it's a great page builder, and we've used it for dozens of client websites so far, and they seem to be pretty pleased with it. But anyway, I'm Charlie from Pryor Media, and I will see you next time.